Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. EDDBUD here, and today I've got a comparison video for you between the Hoka Rocket X and the Carbon X. So today we've got a comparison of two shoes that have the supposed X factor. And I'm not talking about that Simon Cowell bloke or the pathetic, talentless stuff that's poured into our ears via some of the TV channels. It's hard enough for up-and-coming musicians as it is, so both of these have carbon plates and super light upper materials are abound. Will the Rocket X trump the Carbon X? Let's count the votes and find out. Just to let you know, these are two shoes I have bought with my own Earth credits. I haven't been sent them, no freebies here, so these are my honest opinions as usual. Got to make you aware that one of these shoes is a UK size 11 and the other is a UK size 11.5. We must be sure to make note of that difference within this comparison video and make the appropriate allowances. The Rocket X clocks in at 247 grams, that's 8.7 ounces, and the Carbon X at 266 grams, 9.3 ounces. Both of these have a 5mm heel-to-toe drop, 140 Earth credits for this one, and 159 at retail for the Carbon X. Let's start with the uppers first. So quite a difference in the uppers between these two shoes. A paper thin and very flexible upper here on the Carbon X, and a more synthetic mesh type material on the Rocket X. This one actually reminds me quite a bit of the Rincon, a shoe I really enjoyed from last year. I felt that the upper material that was used on the Carbon X from last year was actually one of its better features. It was super soft and very containing, quite forgiving on the foot as well. Didn't have any major issues or with my toes or rubbing or anything like that. The upper material featured here, as I said, is a little closer to the Rincon, a bit more fitting perhaps and a tad more breathable. I think this one's going to hold up a little better in terms of strength and durability. I feel the tongues on both shoes could do with being just a tad longer. Just feels like they slip down sometimes and you haven't got quite enough tongue to cover over where the lace is not. Though I do appreciate Hoka's attempts to minimise the weight in both shoes by having the minimal amount of tongue. Both shoes in fact have caused a little discomfort for me in this area here on the outer side of the shoe, just where the lace is not. In fact, with one of them, I've had to stop using a runner's knot. It's just too much pressure there on the top of my foot. And surprise, surprise, the last time I can remember experiencing that was actually in the Rincon from last year. It's just near the last couple of lace eyelets there, some real discomfort. Strangely, the upper material in the Carbon X actually has a little less to it. It doesn't need to be pulled so tightly over the top of the foot. A few of the viewers have pointed out they've got similar issues when they hit a size 11 in Hoka's. The material just seems to be too much and you've got to cinch the laces quite tightly together to get a good lockdown. It wasn't quite so bad in the Carbon X though. I mean, the material almost meets together in the middle here on the Rocket X over my first 3 runs. In both shoes there's certainly room for improvement in terms of the upper, but I'm going to go with the better heel fit within the Rocket X. You've actually got a proper heel counter in here, whereas you didn't have that in the Carbon X. And as such, the Rocket X is going to take the upper crown today. Let's talk midsoles now, and it's a very different story. There's far less in common between these two shoes in the midsole. Both shoes use an EVA based midsole, but the Rocket X is far more forgiving. There's a lot more cushion there, and it's nowhere near as firm as the Carbon X. The Carbon X was like a firm piece of mutton compared to the stuff that's used in the Rocket X. I don't know if it's the same, but this shoe just felt very firm to me. Just so rigid as well, with very little flex there. Wasn't one I enjoyed that much. I found this one really controlled the way that you run. The Rocket X just seems to work so much better for me. It's a little bit more flexible. There's a little more give to it. I mean, yes, it does have some rigidity there, but nowhere near as much. I found the foam here far more palatable, or perhaps at least the implementation of the foam more palatable. As such, I think it's a vast improvement in every area when it comes to midsole. I know a number of people did experience some knee pain when using the Hoka Carbon X. I think it's from that midsole setup, but I've had none of that so far in the Rocket X. So in terms of midsole, it's a win for the Rocket X. Outsoles next, and we've got two very different approaches here. Rubber only where it counts, kid, which means I'll get some fast Kessel runs in the books with the Rocket X. That minimisation of rubber here means that even though the shoes are half size bigger than the Carbon X, you've actually got a lower weight. I mean, there's almost a 20 gram difference between these two shoes, and let's not forget that this one's a half size up. No real signs of wear at the moment, 25 miles in with the Rocket X. Loads of foam rubber here on the outsole of the Carbon X. But after 100 miles, I did see quite a bit of wear in the midfoot area on the Carbon X. And towards the outer edge as well, quite a bit of wear. For 100 miles, that's not great. So that revision to the outsole here really does make quite a big difference on wet leaves, on road and concrete. This new shoe does outperform its predecessor easily. I mean, the Carbon X was a really interesting shoe, but it did have some flaws. I'm glad to see that Hoka are making some improvements here to their carbon plate models. Another thing to note between the two shoes is that the Carbon X is almost 1 centimetre wider in pretty much the whole of the outsole than the Rocket X. So there's quite a bit more surface area here, if that's the thing that you're after. So for outsole, the W goes to the Rocket X. So I think value-wise, the anticipated improved durability, and obviously that lower cost as well. We're talking about 20 Earth credits difference, I think. And this one has a much more forgiving nature at a wider variety of paces. I find it really hard to actually suggest that the Carbon X is a better shoe here for value. A better upper material here, and a more fluid transition than something like the Meta Racer, for example. I don't think this shoe is just something for racing though. I think that you could use this one for some longer tempo runs, or even perhaps some interval sessions. So a much better shoe, this one, over different weather conditions and surfaces, makes for a better value shoe all round. So I'm going to give this one the win for value and a clean sweep overall against the Carbon X. I think that this is a much better revision of a carbon plate shoe. Better value, better price, and vastly more versatile. Well done, Hoka. You've done a good job with this one. I think if I was to compare these two shoes against other stuff that's on the market which is similar, there's quite a few that spring to mind, but two of the closest ones are the Tempo Next Percent from Nike and also the Saucony Endorphin Pro. I think the Pro, with its slightly more rigid midsole, is a little bit closer to both of these shoes. Certainly not weight-wise, but feel-wise, they are quite similar too to the Nike Tempo Next Percent. I think these all come in at around about the same amount, perhaps with the Pro being a little bit more expensive. Have you tested either of these shoes, guys? Let me know your experiences and opinions on them down in the comments. Another Christmas film recommendation for you today. For many years I've enjoyed the film A Christmas Story. This one's based in Chicago, I do believe, and many Christmas films are. Why is that? So this film follows the story of a young chap who's after a Red Ryder BB weapon. He goes to all sorts of extents to try to tell his mum that this is the thing that he wants for Christmas, but he doesn't want to get it over too bluntly. He's constantly met with,
"No, you'll have your eye out."
There are some really humorous parts in this film. The kid's got like a younger brother, and his mum dresses him up in this sort of all-weather outfit, and he can barely move. It's hilarious. There's a school bully that they're always trying to avoid, and when his brother is stuck in the middle of all of this, he just sort of falls on the floor. I think he says something like, he lays there like a slug. It was his only form of defence. It all works out quite happily in the end. Sort of. There's a really great mood to this film as well. You can really feel the Christmas atmosphere. Really top film, this one. If you haven't seen it before, go and check it out. A Christmas Story. Thanks for sticking with me to the end of the video today, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button and also click the bell below for notifications of when we launch those new videos. I don't think that many people have clicked it, so please do click that notification bell. It really helps the channel out if you give this video a thumbs up like and also share it with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD and I'll be seeing you